Hi everybody, and welcome to the grand tour of the Cued Speech chart. I have my chart here. As you can see, there are 8 hand shapes and they cover all the consonant sounds. And there are 8 placements and these cover all the vowel sounds. Now, before we begin and dive into the chart, let me back up a bunch. Okay, there are a couple housekeeping rules that we need to go over. The first one is cue notation. Cue notation is simply the way that we write the hand part of the cues. So for example, on the chart, we have 8 hand shapes and they will be written as their corresponding numbers. For example, the sound it is a hand shape 5 and it will be written with a number 5. Pretty simple, right? Okay, for placements, which are the vowel sounds down here, they will be written as the first letter of that placement's name. So for example, the mouth placement, which is here at the corner of your mouth, it will be written as the letter M. So if you see the cue notation 5M, it literally just means hand shape 5 at the mouth. 5M. Very simple, right? One thing to note is that the cues don't mean anything without the mouth shape of when you're speaking. So if you were to read a bunch of cue notation, it would mean nothing because no information is given about what's going on your mouth at that time. So you just have to figure that out if that's not already given for you. But it is not the equivalent of writing language in cued speech because there's no mouth information and it's just the hand information, and you kind of have to have both to have language. Okay, cue notation. The next thing we have to go over is correct posture. This is very important. When you're cueing, assuming you have good general posture to begin with, is that the hand, first of all, must always be pretty close to the face because the deaf person is going to be looking at your mouth as the primary source of information, and the cues are going to help them clarify what they're seeing on your mouth. Okay, so if your hand is too far from the mouth, the deaf person's going to have to look between both and they're going to lose information. So always keep your hand pretty close to your mouth as you're going along, okay? Next thing to note is that the hand should always face the deaf consumer, okay? We don't do this, we don't do this, we don't do this. Excuse me. We always want to make sure that the back of the hand is completely visible to the deaf consumer. Okay, next thing is the tip of the longest finger all the way down to your elbows, okay, should always be a straight line, a continuous plane, okay? Do not bend at the wrist, okay? We don't cue like this unless you're a teenage girl, and it's wrong, okay? And you don't cup your fingers. And sometimes it feels natural to do this, so you will just have to learn to extend your fingers and feel that tension right here when you're cueing to make sure that you can see your fingers. If I'm cueing like this, nobody's going to see my fingers. So I always got to make sure that my hand and my elbow and my arm is one continuous line. Okay, maximum visibility. Okay, extended fingers should always be side by side. When you're cueing, various hand shapes are going to have various fingers sticking up. Those fingers have to be stuck together, okay? We cannot have separated fingers. This is not hand shape 3. It might be a gang sign, but it is not hand shape 3. This is hand shape 3. My fingers are all stuck together. 1, 2, 3, 4. All my fingers are always stuck together. Okay, very good. Now, if you have a dangling pinky, which I did for like the first 10 years that I was cueing, do your best, okay? But The goal is no separated fingers. Okay, touch all your placements. There are several placements in cued speech that are on the face. You actually do have to touch those placements. So touch your chin, touch your mouth, touch your throat. At least do your best to touch your throat, okay? But it is very important to actually touch these placements. Keep your nails trimmed. This is for your safety. If you are touching your face rapidly, you're going to scratch yourself if your nails are not trimmed. Okay, I've done it. I think everybody's done it at least once. It's not pretty. So keep your nails trimmed. Yay. And move from the shoulder and the elbow. Like I said before, we are not going to cue from our wrist. Okay, we are going to move from our shoulder and our elbow. Okay, in this little space here. It'll look like a choo-choo train. Choo-choo. Okay, that being said, let's go. Cued speech is as easy as 1, 2, 3, go. The first thing that we will learn is the hand shapes. Those are the consonant sounds. The second thing we will learn are the vowels. Those are the placements. Okay? And then we put them together and make CV pairs. All cues are made of CV pairs, a consonant and a vowel together. Always, always, always. Never vowel consonant pairs. Always consonant vowel pairs. Okay? That being said, let's go into the cue chart. The first hand shape is hand shape number 1, and it has 1 finger. Pretty easy. And this hand shape says D like dog, P like pop, and J like Asia. D, P, J. And my mnemonic is Doge puppy. Now, the D and the P are pretty straightforward. There's really no variation of spelling there, but the J sound occurs in several different words with various spellings. Just listen for the sound and don't worry about the spellings. Okay, my note here is that the J sound is actually the voiced version of the sh sound. Sh and j. There are actually a lot of unvoiced and voiced consonant pairs, and this was your first one. Moving right along. Hand shape 2, which is 2 fingers. It's so easy, right? Okay, 2 fingers, and this makes 4 different sounds. Okay, we'll take it slow. It makes the k sound. K, k, k. This could be spelled a variety of ways, but it's k, just that sound. The v sound. The z sound. Z, z. And the voiced th sound. As in the word the. Okay, the C can be spelled as a C, a CK, or even with a Q, okay? But it doesn't matter how it's spelled. It makes the same sound. K. Okay. The TH sound is another voiced and unvoiced pair. F and ugh. Moving right along. Hand shape 3 is 3 fingers. Keep them all stuck together. Okay, and this makes the sound like hot, the sound like red, and the s sound like sauce. So my mnemonic is red hot sauce. The one thing to note about this is that the letter R can behave as a consonant or as a vowel. When R is a consonant and it says R, then we use the hand shape 3. When R says it's more like a vowel, and we will cue it at a placement because that's how we cue vowels. Okay, moving right along. Hand shape 4. Love it. It's 4 fingers. Now, technically, this hand shape makes 3 sounds. B, as in bubble. N, as in no. And also the HW. So HW, hwa, hwa. Now, in modern American English, we don't hear this very often. There are certain dialects in the South that still have this sound, but for the most part, you will probably never hear it or use it unless you're in the South. So don't worry about it, okay? Just for the sake of ease, b and n, like banana, b, n. And my mnemonic is Barnes and Noble. And that picture, I got it off of Google, but it just happens to be my local Barnes and Noble down in Fredericksburg. Anyways, moving right along. Hand shape 5. Hand shape 5 is all 4 fingers plus the thumb. Now for hand shape 5, make sure your thumb is fully extended, okay? This is not hand shape 5. That is a fish. Okay, hand shape 5. Feel the tension and the stretch in here. When you're cueing, you want to develop some thumb awareness. A lot of people don't have very good thumb awareness, so feel that stretch. The stretch is hand shape 5, okay? That being said, hand shape 5 has a lot going on, so let's break it down into the consonant sounds that go with it, and then we will tackle the whole consonant, no, the vowel alone part, okay? Because hand shape 5 is 3 different consonant sounds, but it is also vowel alone. Okay, consonants first. This is the sound. It could be spelled as the letter F or as the letter PH, but it is the sound. It is also the sound. And that's pretty straightforward. There's really not a lot you can do with that. It's either 1 M or 2 M's. Yay, we love simple. Okay, and then finally, and this is a little bit tricky, so take a deep breath. In general, we cue what we hear. The exception is the letter T, the T sound. It just so happens that a bunch of people a long time ago, when they were making the rules for linguistics, said, all these random sounds that we don't have a letter for, let's just attach them to the letter T. So sometimes T sounds like T. You learned that in kindergarten. But sometimes T sounds like D, like the letter D. It's got like an identity crisis going on. And sometimes T doesn't sound like anything at all. Like in the word mountain. I didn't say a T. I said mountain. I kind of shot it out my nose and I didn't even make that flappy T thing with my tongue. But that's the letter T. So the rule of T says that you cue a T if there is a T in the word, no matter what it sounds like. And that is the only exception to the general rule of you cue what you hear. Not for the letter T. You cue the T. We'll go into more detail later, but for right now, this is the T sound and the D and the sound, depending on the word you're using it in. Okay, so now that I've given you that like T history, that would explain why we use hand shape 5 for all open vowels. One of the many sounds that gets attributed to the letter T is called the glottal stop, and it looks like this ear hook thing. A glottal stop is technically when you close the back of your throat, it's called the glottis, and you hold back your voice, and then you release, okay? And all vowels start with a glottal stop. Think of ah. Do that a couple times. Ah, 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 ah. When I close the back of my throat and then release the vowel is whatever the vowel is, but it started with a glottal stop. Glottal stop is the letter T. Letter T is a hand shape 5. And so all vowels alone start with a hand shape 5. Okay, that was the really fancy explanation for why we do it that way, but hopefully that makes sense and makes it easier to remember that when you're cueing airplane or Easter, you use a hand shape 5. Okay, very good. Moving right along, hand shape 6. So if you consider your thumb to be the hand shape 5 and you add 1, okay, that's the idea behind hand shape 6. This makes 3 sounds: the W, the W sound, the L, the L sound. It looks like an L too, and the sh sound, the SH sound. Now, hand shape 6, put them together, it kind of looks like a W, and by itself, it kind of looks like an L. So that's pretty easy to remember. And then you just kind of remember the shh. Start shushing people that way. That'll help you remember. My mnemonic is the wash well whale. Supposedly in Texas, there is a car wash called the Wash Well. And their little mascot is this cute whale here, and I really like it. So the Wash Well whale, hand shape 6. So my note here is that the letter H, okay? The letter H is kind of tricky. It thinks it's a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. Now, when the letter H is alone, it makes the H sound, hand shape 3, okay? But when you pair it with another letter, it changes the sound completely, and you don't cue that H. It likes to be there and call attention to itself, but don't cue it, okay? For example, CH says ch. It doesn't say h anywhere in that sound, so don't cue that H. The SH sound says shh. Once again, there's no h sound in there, so don't cue that H. And the PH, once again, there's an H in that word. Don't cue it, okay? The H is just there to mess with people and you don't cue it. Okay, so the wash well whale, yes, the word whale as also why, when, where, those WH words, the H doesn't do diddly squat, so don't cue it. Okay, moving right along. Hand shape 7. Hand shape 7 is the 5 thumb and 2 fingers, and it says the G sound, the J sound, and the unvoiced TH sound. Okay, G, G, G. It kind of looks like a gun. Okay, don't tell that to the children. But G, G, G. Now, it also says the J sound, okay? Now, in English, we write that sound as a J or as a DG sometimes. The funny thing about that is that the J sound is actually a combination of the D sound and the J sound. When you put D and J together, you get J, okay? You can't make that sound without either one. If you take the D out, you just get ja. If you take the ja out, you just get d. So you have to put the two together and you get the J sound, ja. Okay? You might hear a D in there. You might want to cue the D in there. You're right, there is a D in there, but don't cue it. Okay, that's all I have to say about that. The thumb. Okay, this is the unvoiced. This is the voiced. How can you remember this easily? Well, this says the word the. I used my voice. The. This is how I would start the word thumb. There's no voice. Thumb. And it has my thumb. Isn't that cool? Okay, so the thumb. This is a way for you to more easily remember the difference between the two. Credit goes to my friend Emily Mulholland. And hopefully that helps you too. Okay, ready for the final handshake? Okay, my favorite, handshake 8. Okay, looks like a peace sign and you would actually cue yo-yo with it. Okay, handshake 8. Okay, the one thing to note about this handshake is that when you touch your face, you should never obscure your mouth. So when you're touching your chin, touch it with the top finger. But when you're touching your mouth, touch it with your middle finger. You should never obscure your mouth. All the other hand shapes you will touch with your longest extended finger. But with handshake 8, don't obscure your mouth. Okay, that being said, handshake 8 says the y sound, the letter Y, for yes. And the ch sound, the ch sound, ch, ch, ch. And also it says the ng sound, ing. Now, no words in English start with the ng sound, but a lot of words end with it. So you're going to be cueing this one a lot. Ing, ang, ong. Okay? Okay? And you've done it. We have made it to the end of the consonant sounds. Good job, guys. Do your fingers feel like this yet? Fingers and knots. I thought that was funny. Okay, moving on to the placements, which are at the bottom. These are all the vowels. Now, I gotta say, vowels are very tricky because you naturally want to cue words as you spell them. It just pops into your head. It's not a bad thing. It's natural. You're gonna have to unlearn that. But when it comes to vowels, there are no standard ways to spell any of them. With consonants, most of them were pretty straightforward, but with vowels, people just made things up as they went along. Okay, I have this cute little story in my slideshow. Basically, once upon a time, we spoke Latin and we used the Roman alphabet to spell things. And the Roman alphabet was very phonetic and everything was simple and straightforward. Then we got invaded by the Vikings and they brought with them a runic alphabet. And eventually we kicked them out and we brought back the Roman alphabet, but we kept some of the runes. Okay, but it was still pretty simple and straightforward and phonetic. But then we got invaded by the Normans, those dang Normans, tisk tisk. They came and brought French to Britland. And the French don't know how to spell anything. And they decided that they were going to take the language and spell everything we were saying in English, but spell it in French. And they made it the official language of the government until they were kicked out. And so for a long time, people were spelling things two ways. They had the English version of a word and they had the French version of a word. And then you had these confused, mixed up versions of words because people didn't know what the heck was going on. Okay, so if you've ever had trouble spelling anything, it's because of the French. We love the French, but not when it comes to spelling and not when it comes to cued speech. It messes up your spelling, it messes up your cues. Forget everything you know about spelling. Okay, that being said, let us begin. The first placement is the mouth placement, and it's right at the corner of your mouth. Smile. Say cheese. Okay, touch that placement. And this placement says 2 vowel sounds. Yes, so easy. The first one is E, the long E sound. E. It also says the vowel version of the letter R. So E, E, Okay, just as an example of how the English can't spell vowels, the E sound, which is super easy to hear and to make, can be spelled with 1 E, like the word me, 2 E's, like the word tree, EA, like the word sea, as in ocean, the sea. An E consonant, silent E, like in the word delete. An IE, like the word field. A Y, like the word baby. And an EY, like the word key. So just for that one simple sound, we have all those lovely different ways to spell them. Don't be confused. Don't be tricked. It's E, E. How simple is that? Okay, is also tricky. I'm so sorry. It could be spelled with any one of the vowels, okay? AR, like molar. ER, as in river. IR, as in bird. OR, as in world. UR, like earn. And EAR, like earth. Like I said, don't worry about the way it's spelled. Just you hear you're going to put it over there. Okay, moving right along. The chin placement. It goes right at the center of your chin. And this makes 3 sounds. The first one is aw, aw. Now this sometimes gets confused with the ah sound. And some people legitimately can't hear the difference. If you can't hear the difference between ah and aw, don't worry about it now. You will develop an ear for it as we go along. And just cue what you think you hear now and be consistent. Don't switch between one or the other. So if you're going to go with aw, keep it at the aw. Okay, so aw. My mnemonic is aw, cute, pet. The next sound it makes is the long U sound. Ooh. Now, U, the letter U, can say 3 different sounds. It has the long U, ooh. It has the short U, and it has this weird in-between U, the Okay, just remember the letter U makes 3 different sounds. This is the long U, ooh. Okay, and finally, the chin placement says the short E sound, eh. So, aw, cute, pet. Other than that, pretty simple. Moving right along. The throat position. Now, the throat position is anywhere between the middle of your throat, or your Adam's apple, if you have one, and the little dip in your clavicle. Okay, so anywhere in the bottom half of your neck. Okay, if you're too high, you could be doing the chin position, so don't do it too high. If you're too low, you're too far from the mouth, and the deaf person is going to lose eye contact with your lips. So try to keep your throat position in this little window here. This makes 3 sounds. The short A sound, ah, the short I sound, I, and that weird short U sound, the And that sounds actually all over the place, like good and wolf, push and pull, the sound, okay? We don't say pool, we don't say pull, we say pull, pull. Okay, the sound. Okay, one thing to note about the A sound. Short A actually sounds different when it's paired with a nasalized consonant. Now, what I mean is if you cue the word C-A-T, the T is a normal sound that comes out of your mouth. So at, cat. C-A-T says cat. But what if I changed it to C-A-N? N is a nasalized sound, which means it gets shot out your nose. You can feel it. Okay. The A sound in your throat is going to have to flip to come out as the N sound through your nose. So ah, ah, and. Did you hear that? So when A has to flip out your nose, it's going to sound like ah. I know it's a horrible sound when on its own, but that's what happens. Okay, so if you hear an ah, like thank you or triangle or mango, that man, ah, the ah sound is technically still a short A. So we will cue it at the short A placement at the throat. Okay. As an example, the word mango. Now, you might think you're hearing a long A sound, but you're not actually saying mango, like the state Maine. You're not saying mango. You're saying mango with that eh. Okay, and that eh sound is at the throat. Okay, that was all very lovely. Moving right along. The next placement is at the side. Okay, if you put your hand under your chin and you touch your 2 longest fingers together, that is your side placement. It's under your chin and about 1 inch from the face. And this is where we put all consonants alone. So remember, everything we cue is in consonant vowel pairs. If we have a consonant sound or hand shape, and we don't have a vowel or a placement to put it at, we park it to the side. For example, that's good. Has no vowel, so we park it to the side. How about shushing somebody? Shh. The SH sound has no vowel, so we park it to the side. Shh. Okay? And all you have to remember is parking it to the side. If you've got a sound and you've got to park it to the side, this is where you put it. Okay. Yay! And that's all you have to know about the side position. But from the side position, we have the side down. Starting at the side, drop it down 1 inch. It is the short U sound. And it is the only cue with just 1 sound. Woohoo! Okay. Drop it. And that's it. You have to cue to cue the word up. Go down to cue up. That was so easy. Side forward. Start at the side, bump it forward about 1 inch. And it says the long O and the short O. O, ah. O, ah. That's pretty easy to remember, right? It's O, long O, short O, all the O's, O, ah. My mnemonic is Roblox, but a few years ago it was Obama. It could also be Aloha. Come up with your own mnemonics, but yeah, pretty easy. What is my note here? Oh, the O and the aw, no, the ah and the aw are dialecty things, and don't worry if you can't hear the difference. We went over this before. Okay, so we covered all of the simple basic vowels. The next 2 hand shapes will cover all of the diphthongs in English. We have 4 diphthongs: a, oi, I, ow. Okay, a, oi, I, ow. A diphthong is simply 2 vowel sounds that are smushed into 1 spoken syllable. A is a combination of and I. A, a. I didn't invent the language, I just speak it, and that's what the linguists who made the rules decided. So that's what we're going with, because cute speech is based on actual linguistic rules. So I says a. Now oi is aw, I. Aw, I says oi. Oi. So start at the chin and drop it to the throat. A, oi. Okay, the next 2, I and ow. I starts with the ah sound and swoops to the I at the throat. Ah, I says I. And ow is technically the ah sound swooping to the sound at the throat. Ah, says ow. Trust me on this. So a, oi, I, ow. And there you go. My mnemonic for a, oi is baby boy. And my mnemonic for ow and I is loud cry. Hopefully that helps you remember all 4 of them. But that's it. We just covered the entire cute speech chart. Woohoo! Give yourselves a hand. Victory dance. And that is it for round 2 of cute speech. Hi again. There was something I forgot to tell you about diphthongs. Since a diphthong is 2 vowel sounds, where do we put that consonant sound? We put a consonant sound at the beginning of a diphthong, but since the second half of the diphthong is a vowel alone, we must always open to hand shape 5 at the throat. No matter what hand shape we start with at the beginning of the diphthong, we end with hand shape 5 at the throat. And this is true for all 4 of the diphthongs. For example, take the word pie. The word pie starts with hand shape 1, but it will open to hand shape 5 at the throat. Pie, pie. If it didn't open, you would technically be saying pa-pi, not pie, pie. So Applying that to all, you get pay, poi, pie, and pow. Okay, that's actually it. That is everything you need to know about the cued speech chart. Yay! Okay, thank you very much.